You have decided to switch jobs and you go ahead and pull up your resume and you realize that it is complete trash. That is the exact same thing that I had pulling it up for this video, but let me show you how I moved from banking to fintech. If you feel like you're struggling with relevant experience, leadership opportunities at a junior level, knowledge gaps, and problems that you don't even know you're being judged on, that is exactly what I struggled with as well. And in this video, I'm going to show you my resume, what I think about it now, how it could be better. In the end, I'll also show you my interview stats, which I kept a sharp record of so that instead of feeling bad about myself, I could look back at it and say, it's only been 4 or 5 days, I can relax, it's really okay. The entire process actually only took me about a month and a half. Let's dive in. Before I tell you anything else, you have to know that there are some amazing keyword resume evaluators online for free. Personally, I didn't use them when I was applying in April of this year, and I should have. I'm pretty sure my success rate would have been better. Funny story, when I applied to Goldman a couple of years ago in my junior year, I uploaded my resume and I downloaded it back again just to see which version I had uploaded. It actually downloaded with a different title. It downloaded with my name, and after it said Research Engineer, Process Engineer. So they were using that keyword tool on my resume in my junior year of college. You bet they're gonna be using it on your resume when you apply as well. Opinion 1. I put my education first. When I was applying to fintech, I was still only 2 or 3 years out of college, so I wanted to highlight my educational successes and experiences. However, for my next role, I will strongly consider putting my education lower on the list, especially because I have strong fintech and banking experience, so apply that as you will depending on how many years you are out of university. My career center in university advised me to break up my resume into categories. For example, you'll see that I used finance and research and leadership and volunteering. Looking back, I would definitely choose different categories. For example, keeping finance separate from research, adding a strategy section or corporate development, and I would not group leadership and volunteering. In fact, I would put some of those international experiences lower down. They say that people spend only about 15 seconds looking at your resume, so I do think it appears a little bit disjointed to go from banking to international experiences back to investments. However, I do think that they were important experiences. Whenever I talked to the human beings who actually reviewed my resume, I always got questions on my languages and my international experience, and the skills that it is highlighting include research skills, analytical skills, communication skills. All of those are really important as well. When I talked to my husband, he mentioned that I might have a bit too many university experiences on my resume, but at that point I was still 2 to 3 years out of university. Also, no matter what job you have, you're only supposed to put anywhere from 3 to 5 bullet points on the topic, so you need to fill up the space in other ways. On the 3 to 5 bullet point note, if you don't have extracurriculars, you should strongly consider having them, or else some kind of certification program such as the CFA and the MBA, because the years just fly by and it's very worthwhile not to just have another year of work experience, but also to have some kind of certification or other experience under your belt. If I was applying to a fintech right now, I would still keep my resume to 1 page. I would just bump off some of the other experiences off of it. Let's talk about my banking experience specifically. I was not a coverage banker. You may be asking, what is loan syndicate? In the next 2 minutes, I'll tell you about it, so feel free to skip if you're not interested. Essentially, we are the team that provides $5 billion, $10 billion credit cards and loans to massive companies such as Starbucks and Amazon. You know how bonds trade on the market? Well, high-grade loans generally don't do that. Instead, a small group of banks or a syndicate will decide to hold them, and in exchange, companies will often compensate them with M&A titles or any other kind of leadership positions on bond deals and other debt structuring. How is this relevant to fintech? It is not. Looking back, I don't think I talked about my experiences in banking in the best way here. As you see, I'm trying to highlight quantitative results, but at the same time, a lot of the work is presentation and company-specific modeling. Collaboration should definitely not be the first action word, but aside from that, the general text is I have some modeling experience, finance experience, as well as really good skills in PowerPoint, Bloomberg, and Excel. When I was looking at jobs, you see a lot of 2 years of banking, 2 years of consulting preferred, and that signals to me that a lot of people will look at your resume if you have at least those things on it. However, once I got into the interview stage, I had to have a really good premise as to what modeling skills I had, and I did lean on the CFA for that, saying things like perhaps a DCF wasn't part of my daily job, but I know how to do it because I have the experience studying for the CFA. I think the small section at the bottom of skills is super relevant, including fluency in multiple languages, technical skills, and certifications. What I would now consider putting here is another line item for different kind of financial models that I can can create, for example, a revenue model, DCF if that's relevant, things like that, just to continue to highlight my proficiency in finance. Ultimately, I think my resume could definitely have been tighter, but when I did get in front of an interview, I had a really good progression rate and I was ready to back up my modeling and technical skills. Let's go ahead and look at my hit rate. Looking back, it's actually not that bad. I remembered it being worse. You can see that I applied to almost 30 positions. Most of these did not need a cover letter. It had to be a really special company for me to create a cover letter, and I'm pretty sure I did not put one together for anyone. I would churn out 5 or 6 applications per week and focus on the ones that just needed a resume or a couple of paragraphs of additional text. Many of these jobs just will not respond to you, and I've heard that some recruiters keep the job openings up even after they have been filled in order to just to see what kind of resumes filter through. So the response rate is really low. I did not want to waste my time on cover letters if I statistically wasn't going to hear back anyway. What you see in my spreadsheet is I'm also calculating how many days have passed, and of course it's November now, so a lot of these have passed. But what you see on the very bottom, the rejection ones, most of the rejections came within 1 or 2 days of me applying, which shows me that my resume was filtered by a keyword search and then rejected flat out. I also applied to a wide variety of roles. I didn't want to limit myself there and spend too much brain power filtering because I might not even get a call back. If I could send my resume very quickly, I did. Some of these I was obviously not a good fit. If you see FP&A analyst or pricing, I don't have those kinds of experiences, and I would have needed to tailor my resume more effectively to even get a call back for that. At the time, there were about 18 roles that I hadn't heard back from. I stopped keeping track in about April, and I thought there was one more Bloomberg one, and I decided that was not for me. It's in green because I got a call back, and I said, I don't think I'm going to be doing this. Looking back, I didn't have the best modeling experience to show for banking, and that is also why I kept some of the language more general. I do think applying for startups might be easier than applying for a lot of these giant companies such as Amazon and Google because they already have in mind the exact kind of candidate that they're looking for. I even was networking with one person from Blizzard, the gaming company, and she was basically saying that because I wasn't a coverage banker, I had a very slim shot of getting into that team. So I definitely felt the limitation of not being from coverage. However, because I had the CFA, I could speak to both the modeling and accounting aspects of any kind of finance manager position. And when I applied, I had actually only passed the CFA level 1. I'm 100% sure that your resume looks very different from mine, so comment below what you would have done differently and what you thought of my resume overall. At some point, I'm gonna have to update this baby. But at the same time, I do hope that this resume comes off as non-traditional so that it can show you that you don't have to be a cookie cutter kind of person to get these kinds of roles. However much you disagree with how I put in the information, it did get me the job, and I'm very grateful for that. Continually a work in progress, yours truly, Marta.